edition of Your Health Matters with Dr. Benjamin Bryant, Chief of Staff and Chief General Surgeon of Conneaut Medical Center. Hey Doc, it looks like summer's almost here.
This really feels like it.
Nice day.
This really feels like, my wife's been getting some flowers in.
Oh yeah.
We actually had breakfast this morning out on the back.
Did you really?
It was about as beautiful as it could be.
Yeah, it is a beautiful day. Well, we got some guests here, Doc. Have you introduce them if you would?
Actually, I'm going to have my colleague and tremendous helper in this situation, Denise Brown, who's a nurse with Conneaut and Geneva Medical Centers. Our public, I'm sure, remembers that Denise has been on before. She's very active in community outreach and in the hospital to home program. And Denise suggested our guests this morning, who have been through a rather extraordinary experience and who have insights to share with our public that I think will be beneficial and perhaps even inspirational to a lot of people. So having said that, Denise, if you will, could you please go ahead and introduce our special guest?
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you, Dr. Bryant. It has truly been my privilege to get to meet and work with Mr. Christopher Horwood, his beautiful wife Doreen, and Reverend Tim Krause. Chris has an amazing story of strength and courage as he deals with a very unique situation, and he has so graciously offered to share his story with others as a way of educating and providing support and encouragement for other patients and families that are dealing with what he is. So I thank you both very much for being here today.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here.
Chris, if you don't mind, maybe start off by explaining exactly what it is that you're dealing with.
You'll have to bear with me because the talking part gets to be very laborious at times.
That's fine.
I've got a form of emphysema that is called inherited emphysema is what they call it. It's alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency with a certain marker that's very detrimental and devastating to the lung.
So it has nothing to do with smoking?
Oh no, smoking is involved.
Okay.
Smoking is involved.
Okay.
I'm a past smoker. On occasion, I will still smoke just because I enjoy smoking.
Sure.
However, with the alpha-1, even without smoking, would have still been in the situation.
That's what I want the public to understand.
Yes, but still, the best thing to do if you ever come across a situation is to not smoke. No aerosols, no anything like that. And it's a genetic issue that has really become a challenge, and I call it a battle for me. And there are so many different aspects of it that you could do a show about it for a couple of hours.
Chris, how long have you had this?
I'm going into the 9th year.
Really?
After, yeah.
Now, you were on one of my shows when I had AM Live, and I don't remember you having it then. Maybe you did.
I did riding MS rides.
Okay.
Yeah. One of the best things to do is exercise, and just as quick as I was diagnosed, I went out and bought a bike. And I would ride 100 miles a day just for the heck of it.
Wow.
It's a lot of miles.
Just to get exercise. And a good friend of mine, Ron Wheeler, had MS.
Mm-hmm.
And I would ride for him. He'd be my pedal partner. Obviously, Matt Crawford, we know him,
Mhm.
MS issues,
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of people. So I was able to use my bad experience to get
Sure.
a good benefit for others.
Sure.
And it is more than the disease, it is your support and your attitude towards it. Tim Krause was one of the guys he's been a very great friend of mine. He was there when they gave me 5 years to live. They told me 5 years, 9 years ago. And I have to be tactful. And I'll tell you, I'm not very tactful at times. It's about your attitude, your support, It's about getting all of the information in and processing it and applying it to you, not necessarily following everything that people say, but you take the time, process the information, apply it to you, and use what works for you. That's how I did it so far. Quite frankly, I'm supposed to be dead right now, but I'm not.
Now this, obviously, that you're talking about, that's a very rational approach. I mean, that's just a really smart thing to do. Now, this is an inherited condition.
Correct.
There's nothing that you did wrong necessarily, just bad luck. It's chronic, it's progressive, and it's something that you have to deal with every day. I would have to believe that the insights that you have developed, the understanding that you've developed, and the capability of dealing with a very difficult situation like this is something that would be generalizable to lots of other sorts of conditions.
Yes,
that
exactly.
People have to face.
That's one of our whole purpose, my wife and I, whole purpose of being willing to come on here isn't about the disease. It's about the actions and the inactions and the attitudes and support. It could be cancer. It could be liver. It could be you just got hit by a train and you're going to be in a wheelchair the rest of your life, you know.
That's right, that's right.
It's all in, you might not be able to do this way anymore. Okay, so what do I do or what could others do to continue to do it? Well, think of another way. Reach out to some other people. Say, how can I do it this way? If you can't do it that way, come up with another way.
So you really don't let it stop you.
No.
You just find
No.
another way to go.
Another way to go, and if it can be done, I can do it. If I have to come to the realization that I can't do it, then, you know, my support group is there and helps me realize that.
Helps you realize that, and then you move on to something else.
Yes. Yeah.
That's tremendous.
It's only way that I got this to this point was because, you know, I'll be straight up. I believe in Christ and Him crucified. I'm a Christian 100%. There's no possible way I could get as far as I did, as far as I have, with about 0 lung function is what I'm at right now. No possible way I got that far without my higher power, God, getting me there. Period, end of story. You know, sure, if He's given me a Gibbs here and there. You know, if I ever watch NCIS.
A dope slap on the back of the head.
Yeah, but it's all in your attitude. One thing I always like to say, and Tim has heard this before, some of you guys other may have too, it's not about how hard you can hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and get back up and keep moving forward. That's how I look at everything. And that's, quite frankly, a quote from Rocky Balboa.
A contemporary American philosopher.
That's right. May I say something about what I've observed in this guy?
Please, everybody just jump right in.
When Chris first got the diagnosis, it was because he was a firefighter and had an opportunity to be the safety manager and inspector for his plant.
Yeah, Millennium. I was trying to move around it within the plant to a different area.
And had to have a very detailed physical in order to go into this, and they discovered something and sent him to a pulmonologist, and for the evaluation they discovered this. And it wasn't too long until they said, you can't work here anymore. Now, he was strong and capable and could do the work of 2 men at that time, but they said, you can't work here.
Yeah.
And so Chris has refused throughout this process to see himself as an invalid. In fact, instead of an invalid, he has always considered himself valid. And so he started selling Aflac insurance.
Yep, tried that for quite a while.
I thought, if I could pick one person who would be least likely to sell insurance, it was Chris Horwood. And he was successful at it, because everything he does, he throws himself completely into. And it was sometime during that time when he started riding a bicycle and riding the 150-mile MS 150. And always one of the first finishers. You know, he couldn't just do it as a casual fun run. And, you know, and our church wanted to support him, and so we wanted to have people down at Township Park to welcome him. So we'd send half the congregation down there halfway through the service. After a couple of years of that, we said, let's just move the whole service downtown so we can cheer for Chris and everybody else when they come through, and we're still doing it.
At Marcy's funeral?
Yes.
Yeah.
So he has changed us in that way. And to do something that was not comfortable for us necessarily, but that we saw as important. And that spirit of, let's find a way to do it, I can do it, is what's carried him to this point. And he's still going. In fact, ask him what he did last weekend.
You mean this weekend? Yeah, we went camping up in the mountains and wrecked our camper on the way home.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was quite the exciting accident, I'll tell you that right now. But we all survived, camper survived.
And I think, how many times have I refrained from doing something because I didn't feel very good? If
Yeah,
Chris didn't do anything because he didn't feel good, he'd never do anything.
Never.
It doesn't stop him, he goes, pushes.
The best thing for me and for a lot of other people, you know, I tell everybody I'm a stud, just for my own well-being, okay? The best thing I think that people can do is, no matter when or what it is, you're gonna go through the process of, I don't know if you wanna call it mourning, grieving, getting angry, getting mad, getting sad. Went through the whole thing, the whole gamut. How you come out of that is what's gonna make you or break you. You could come out with the worst cancer in the world, but you know what? If you come to the realization of the fact that it's gonna be okay, things are gonna work out the way they're gonna work out. It's hard to accept. You get your group of people, you know, your resource group, all of your resources, reach out to people. You'll move forward, and you'll move forward. You might have the worst feeling day ever, but you'll still be able to move forward. And that is so important. Attitude, resources, support. You gotta reach out and get the resources. I wouldn't be sitting here right now and sharing this if it wouldn't be for Denise. That's why we're here. This program that was put in place. Denise, first time, comes to the house and says, man, you guys are unreal. Saying that because my wife is, I'm gonna get her a shirt that says Wonder Woman. She's awesome. I look out for her just more than she looks out for me. And that's not true, but I'll probably get Gibbs for that when I get home, but that's okay. But because Denise said, did you ever do a blog? And I'm like, a blog? That's way too much work. So I said, if you got something in mind, yeah, I'll do it. I'm not gonna go look for it. So now just because this plan, you might have been here when this plan was implemented here, and Denise said something to us, and we say, oh, okay, we're all here. Imagine how many people's lives we're gonna touch with just this in and of itself. And that's the goal, and that's the important part, but it's not just us. It's Denise from saying something, those that are here that put it in place, because this hospital is coming, it's leaps and bounds. So it's not just us, it's everybody.
Tim, you probably recognized, and Chris, as long as I've known him, has always had this attitude where he's a very positive person. So you probably witnessed that real early on in your friendship. But you still live in North Conneaut?
No, I live over in East Conneaut now.
East Conneaut,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Because Tim and I are neighbors.
Yes.
We're also went to school together as teenagers, and I know that you've been very effective with situations like this, and this is what you do. You go out and try to help other people out there. So I give you a lot of credit for that, Tim.
Probably more accurately, it's, I just happened to be at the right place at the right time.
Mhm.
And people ask me to do things, and so I can't say no.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
Seriously, I've known Chris since he was a little rambunctious boy. We were talking about that just before the filming started.
Really?
Yes, when I had to pull him off from our joy bus and give him a talking to and threaten to take him home to his parents.
Is that right?
If he didn't behave.
That's true, true story.
And I saw him grow into a responsible, hardworking, family-loving man who loves God with all of his heart. And that, as Chris was saying, that really is the deep motivation. You know, when you face something that would normally scare you to death, you know, he doesn't have to worry about that part. He can't lose.
Yeah, don't read that wrong. I'm scared to death. I'm scared to death. Oh yeah, it's a scary, terrifying thing. But I don't have to be scared to death. I choose every day not to be.
There you go. It doesn't stop you, doesn't paralyze you.
Right.
Denise, do you make house calls into Chris's wife's place to help him with the situation?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. I know, Denise, you do that. That's what you do, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's how this whole thing
Yes.
came about.
Right.
That's how this program today came about.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
Excellent.
Contact.
Yes, Chris and his wife generously offered to allow me to share their story to help others, and as you can see, they're just an amazing example, and Tim, of how no matter what you're dealt, whether you can control the ultimate outcome or not, it's how you deal with that day to day, and utilizing those resources around you, you know, the love and, you know, support of your family, your friends, your church, community resources. I know we've talked before about them coming to help when the time comes as far as putting in a wheelchair ramp and everything. Just knowing that you're not alone, that you're here, you know, everybody's here to help you, and you're an amazing help to others. You know, you're the one that's going through this, but yet you're stopping and thinking of others to help them, and other families that are going through this to maybe have a new outlook and new way of dealing with this.
Mhm.
If I could ask a question.
Sure.
Well, let's say that somebody who's watching this program, okay, and they have recently been diagnosed with something that's going to be hanging around for a while, okay? Some of the things that we've talked about, you know, chronic disease that's going to impact their life. How would you advise that person as to the best way to engage their family, the best way to handle their family,
How?
and to start the right kind of process?
Yeah, get the right conversation going in the right direction.
Right,
Is the
exactly.
important part. I would get the 5 closest, whether it's just single or, the 5 closest family members and their spouse, and sit down in a room and tell them, this is what it is. This is what the outcome's supposed to be. Do they have all the answers? Probably not. That way, you know, the closest circle is gonna know and be aware. And have them not only help you, but hold you accountable. And then not only those people hold you accountable and help you, but you reciprocate that back to them. What I mean by holding them accountable is that day that, oh, Pat's just feeling terrible, oh, woe is me. No, Pat, not woe is me. That's not what our talk was about. With what's bothering you right now, let's deal with it and move on. Get it out of the way, get it head on, move forward.
So you're really sort of creating a culture within the family that has that orientation,
Yeah.
and that everybody is a part of it, everybody's responsible for it,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
everybody grows it and protects it.
Yeah.
Sort of like we're on a new kind of a mission here, and we're all in this together.
Yeah. And you wanna have you don't want to have too many people. And a lot of times it's like men. We was in a men's group when I found out about this. There were 6 men, and to this very day, we don't meet like we did or anything. To this very day, I'm asked by these men. You know, on top of my family, my wife is the most awesome woman to hold me accountable, and she's my inner circle. You know, she's me.
Mhm.
My mom and brothers and sisters, they still don't quite understand it. But I have other friends that were over just the other day, Harry and Rain Clark, you know, they hold me accountable. And I do the same to them. You keep it all tight and understand that it might, you know, Tim Krause might make Chris mad. But he's holding me accountable.
It's happened more than once, hasn't it,
Yes,
Chris?
it has.
And vice versa.
Yeah. You know, so you get that inner circle of 5 people and sit down and say, this is what it is. This is how I plan on attacking it. This is how I want it to go. Because let's face it, you want to be in charge of your situation.
That's very important.
Yes.
How did you come up with that philosophy to have that philosophy that you just told us about? Is that from your own thinking and studying the situation?
That is from my own bullheadedness,
Mm-hmm.
really.
Mm-hmm.
Being in the fire, I spent almost 20 years in the fire service. And in the fire service, you either pull forward, you either go straight in the building, or you don't. And I always want to be in charge, and I was always, you know, I was on the line. I couldn't say always in charge or anything, but I was on the line. So I took that philosophy, that go charge philosophy, and I want to be in charge of my healthcare situation, be an active participant, and that's how I developed it. It was from my experiences in my past and my own stupid pig-headedness. It's true.
Gotcha.
Well, I think there's maybe a kind of a subtle point here, and I think a very important one, that if you sit that circle of family members down, okay, a lot of times if something, you know, if there's a chronic disease, if there's a serious piece of bad fortune rolls along, they don't know how to talk to you. They don't know, gosh, you know, should I say anything? I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty for them. And if they see you taking the lead and saying, no, this is how it's going to be, this is what we're going to do, it really makes things a lot easier and more
Easier.
comfortable for them.
Yes.
It opens the door, and they will understand. It'll be easier for them to understand. You know, like my mother still doesn't really thoroughly understand what the situation is, and that's okay. You know, she understands what the ultimate result is, and she's known about it for the whole 9 years now. We're going into actually the 5th year past when they told me I should have already passed on. So as long as that door is open so she can say, hey, I don't really understand this, then it always keeps the communication open. And they know that they can always come and ask me whatever. I'm an open book. You can ask me anything, and I'll just be prepared for the answer. Right, Tim?
Right. You know, I think it may be important to say along here that there have been parts of this journey where some folks very close to Chris did not understand. In fact, did not grasp the seriousness of it and the direction it was going. And I think part of the reason for that is because of Chris's attitude to move forward and to make the very most of his life. And instead of him thinking about how soon he was going to die, thinking about how he can live all the more and make every day count. Because that's the approach he's taken on this.
Yep, I got October to get to.
Hunting season.
And thank you
You
for
know-
bringing that up to me, because Chris, I know we have talked before that there's people that, it's not that they're being mean, that it's just a lack of understanding. You have your good days where you're out without oxygen and you can do, you know, whatever you feel up to,
Mhm.
and then other days that you're not feeling good, and that sometimes that causes people that just really don't understand the disease process, some confusion of
right?
Is he really as sick as he says he is? Well,
I've been
yes, he
called a
does have
fraud.
ups and downs.
A faker, a hypochondriac, a sissy, a bum, an unemployed bum. He's lazy. I've been called all those things
Wow.
because, and it's the people's own ignorance.
That's all it is. Obviously,
know.
they have no understanding of
Yeah.
what this is.
No, they have zero, and they
Zero.
don't want to know.
And that's a tough one, you know.
I-
What do they say?
there's-
There's none so blind as he who will not see.
I know the truth.
So true.
That's all that matters to me. It's their loss. If they don't want to, they want to treat me like that and stay away from me. That's their loss, not mine.
That's the right way, obviously, that's the right way to look at it. Now, we're human beings, okay?
Yes.
And we're going to have emotional reactions to things like this. Intensely emotional reactions to things like this, and we're gonna have all kinds of thoughts about it and so on and so forth. Do you feel that there is a role for the professionals who deal with those sorts of issues to help people in your situation?
Yes.
I mean, is that something that's beneficial? And
Yeah, that was,
maybe you could say a little bit about that.
that was beneficial to me. I'll tell you what. I was going through one of the times that Tim had mentioned. I was in the woods in my tree stand. One end of the rope was tied around my neck, the other end was tied around the tree stand, and I was ready to call it a day. Said, no, that's not who I am. And I came down here and I checked in and I got with Signature Health. And at the same time, my house had been raided, been put in jail, all that kind of stuff. Not by anything, I didn't do anything wrong. The Signature Health hooked me up with a gentleman named Wayne Nesbeck, a psychologist, psychiatrist up there. Incredible man. Absolutely reach out and get the psychological, mental end of it handled, because that's a big pill to swallow. It really is. It's a big pill to
Well,
swallow.
I mean, it'll drive everything.
Yeah, yeah. If you let it drive everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But Signature Health is where I went, and they're absolutely. I still have all my paperwork from them, and on occasion I'll look at it. You got to always remember. I can always go back there, and Wayne knows me quite well. I can always go back there, but I also have another key part is I have that resource from being there. I have it in my house. It's another way because I get to feeling sad. I get to feeling bummed out and stuff like that, But how you overcome that and push it aside, not push it aside as in bury it, but deal with it and push it aside and then move forward. Yeah, definitely mental issues. Mental health is always, really can't say enough of it. There's definitely a need and a use for that. Absolutely. I did for years, a couple years. Yep. No shame in that.
No, heck no.
No shame in that at all.
No.
Thank you for sharing that, because I think that's something that a lot of times people overlook. They're so consumed by the physical illness and, I have to have this lab test done, I have to go do this treatment, I have to do that, but you're so consumed with the physical aspect that the mental health is just as important and just as big a part as the physical health.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that kind of gets overlooked.
Yeah. And there are things that's another leads into a great point, really. If you're the person in the situation, one thing that you might want to remember is somebody might come up and bring something up to you. As in saying, have you thought about doing this, or have you thought about doing that? It's not because they want to be nosy or bossy or anything. It's they understand that your head is full of everything. And they might want to point something out that could be hugely beneficial to you. It's not because a person wants to be mean or anything like that. And quite frankly, I'm sitting here because Denise had pointed something out to us. And it's beneficial. Just don't take everything that people say as being mean and nasty and everything. They could genuinely be trying to help you. You'll be able to figure all that out when it
Exactly.
happens.
Exactly. People are very intuitive, okay? And they can tell who's,
Yeah.
you know, really concerned about them and who isn't.
Yeah.
You know, and why people are doing stuff. You know,
Yeah.
people can generally sense that.
If, like I said, if we can help one person, one family, or 100 of them, just even one we're happy with, then our job, our goal has been met. You know, if just one person, because it's, I will tell you, it is a very brutal process. It's brutal, unforgiving, just one of the most, it sometimes makes me sick to my stomach, is a feeling you get sometimes, because you know what's gonna happen. I've had the time and everything to deal with my own mortality. Others have not had time to come up and deal with my mortality. I have to keep that in mind. So, it's definitely, like I said, if we help one, we've done our job. Right, honey?
You know,
Without a
that's-
question, that this is, excuse me, Tim, without question, this man is a great inspiration. And
Yes.
I'm so glad that you did have a chance to come on, because you're gonna help people here.
That's our goal. We sure hope so.
And that's
We sure
what
hope
Dr.
so.
Bryant's goal is also.
Yeah.
Well, you know, this is all about empowerment. That's what this show is about. It's, you know, and I mean, I suppose, I'm just gonna throw this out here. Somebody may be listening to this and boy, heading into that very difficult situation, and might feel like, having heard what you've had to say today, that they might wanna talk with you.
Yeah, that's a possibility that we could make that happen, yeah. I'd be willing to put my number out there.
Well, I don't know if we, you know, we would do it quite, I obviously appreciate that. But just to know, just so that the people can hear that there's a willingness, you know, because someone who might do this is someone who's gonna be in your shoes.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone that you can
Right.
definitely relate to. And, you know, and if they're saying, gosh, I listened to this guy and I have no idea how he does this, and I wanna know how to do this, and maybe if I can talk to him, I can get an idea of, you know, how to handle all of this. I mean, that would.
Yeah, we come up with a way to somehow make that happen, yeah.
Well, I think that, you know, Denise, I don't know if this would be appropriate, but I would have to imagine that UH Conneaut could certainly be a point of contact
Oh,
for
definitely.
this, and for example, if people called and wanted to speak to you,
Mhm.
you could facilitate this.
Most definitely.
Reverend, if they wanted to call you, perhaps you could
Of
do it
course.
as well.
Most definitely.
So, it's not like people in this town don't know Tim, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they could maybe give Tim a call, or give Denise a call,
My pleasure.
and then maybe something could come from that could be
Yes.
life-changing.
Yeah,
Yes.
I know it's been life-changing for me. Like I said, I was supposed to be dead 5 years ago.
It's heavy stuff. It's very heavy stuff.
And now, you know, we're at that point, we're at the end of it now. And that's okay. It's okay. You know, I got 5 extra years by the grace of God, and thankfully, those have been my best 5 years because of that woman right down there. You know, so
That's what it's all about.
it's all good,
It's all good.
yeah.
Well, gosh, this is tremendous. I think that people are just gonna be blown away by this show, and we thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
My dear, if you wanna say no, it's okay, but I wonder if you just might walk up for a second so people can actually put a face to the.
This is my lovely Wonder Woman super nurse who, when it hits the fan, is there for me every single time without fail. Right, honey?
Yeah.
She just was yesterday.
Well, we'd like to thank you again for coming on and sharing with our community.
Absolutely.
This is absolutely tremendous. Thank you so much.
Good. I'm glad that it worked out well.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you
You're
so
very
much.
welcome.
Remember, folks, your health matters, and we will see you next week.